Hello guys, thank you for tuning into my channel. In this video, I'm going to be fulfilling a request about somebody who wants to know the best way to teach their child about witchcraft. If you listen carefully, you can probably hear thousands of Christian conservatives' spines chilling right about now. Now, if you look online about this kind of subject, you often see, oh, I won't teach my child witchcraft because I'm not going to force religion down their throat, as if that would be shoving religion down their throat. You are expressing your religion, telling your kid what you believe in, as long as you're not forcing them, you're not shoving anything down their throat. Now, children are very impulsive and impressionable, but they don't always have the mental aptitude. How do you know when to teach a kid what? Hopefully, you guys are going to benefit from my experience and learn from my mistakes, benefit from my bullseyes, and so let's get started. Okay, first of all, most people have, well, at least that I have encountered, have a certain definition of witchcraft, which is basically, most people try to quote Aleister Crowley. Other people will just come up with their own words, but in the end, it's the same thing, which is basically trying to change or influence one's reality with mental and emotional intent that does not always or necessarily involve doing traditional means. Like, you're just pretty much moving energy with your emotions and to certain locations instead of just relying on regular means of going out to a bar. Now, of course, like if you're trying to find someone to date, I mean, you can go out to a bar, but if you cast a ritual to introduce new love to your life and go out to a bar, you might decide not to go to a bar because you might find a better place to go, right? So, okay, in the end, a person's magical definition usually relies on the fact that you're moving energy for a specific goal using your thoughts and emotions, and the rituals and so forth help drum up energy to match to your energy. And then, of course, through visualizations and focusing of said energy, like a laser beam, your energy goes. Now, kids are filled with energy and filled with imagination. They would probably be some of the best magicians on the planet, best witches on the planet, if they had the ability to focus. Children don't necessarily, I mean, they learn things quickly, but they don't necessarily are good at focusing. They're good at visualization, but again, they also are so young, they don't necessarily grasp focusing into the future to make something manifest. So the first thing you should definitely introduce to your children is visualization at the youngest age possible. Teach your kids how to visualize, how to hold that image in their head. So some of the things that I've seen witches do and that I try to influence as well is that, visualize, say, their hair changing different colors. Actually try to see their hair black or maybe blue or stripes, maybe their skin color. Try to imagine, have your kid imagine what it would be like to be a bird flying over everything. Okay, this comes naturally to children, and it's important that they keep this because I can't tell you how many adults grow up and they lose their ability to visualize and focus. So this is the number one witchy skill that will help them out if they choose to become a witch. Visualization. Don't stifle their creativity, but also make sure they have a healthy balance to where they don't just exist in a perpetual daydream. Moving forward, say from the visualization being around 3 years old, or when they start being able to ask, "What's this? What's that? What's this? What's that?" Perfect time to say, "Well, this is a clover, four-leaf clover," and you can use social standards to help teach them. Everybody knows St. Patrick's Day. Not everybody knows why the four-leaf clover is considered lucky. Almost everybody celebrates some kind of holiday around December. Use these means to broaden their horizon and understanding about multiple cultures, multiple religions, and multiple meanings. Uh, why uh, why is the color green considered uh, great for finances or eternal life with the evergreen tree and or the Christmas tree or Yule tree, whatever you want to call it? Why teach them. Just don't teach them the symbolism. Teach them the meanings behind the symbolism. And as they get older, they'll start putting the meaning of the symbols with the visualizations and other things that you will eventually teach them. Okay, so the next thing that usually moves on forward from that is that around that age, when they're saying, what's this, what's that, mamas or grandmas, or well, I was a divorce. My daughter was baked with me. Not very often, but every other weekend. Sometimes I'd feel froggy and I'd make from scratch a homemade pumpkin pie from scratch, or an apple pie, or something, right? And I tried to show, like for example, teach each ingredient and say that some people in various cultures say cinnamon. It's warm and you know wakens up your mouth. So a lot of people think cinnamon can help uh, in certain situations or prayers or whatnot, speed things up. A lot of people also, because it warms you up when you eat cinnamon, has a tendency to be associated with warm, fuzzy feelings, like how you feel when you hug a puppy, or if you haven't seen your mom and dad in a while, and you get to see them, and you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. That cinnamon is also associated with many cultures and many traditions with love, a family, mommy and daddy love of friends, love, just overall love in its many different forms. You don't have to go too deep. Now, obviously, keep everything PG, right? So during these times, as you're teaching them uh, in traditional meanings of various ingredients, now again, you don't have to go so deep to, you have to tell the ingredient what to do, the whole 9 yards. That comes when they become teenagers. But at this age, because they're so good at learning things, I mean, hell, just by watching you, they learn how to speak English, right? So they're sponges at this age. Teaching them visualization, teaching them uh, the meaning of symbols and symbolism and other cultures is going to be the greatest stepping stone. Okay, so now bedtime stories during this whole time, from the beginning, once they start being able to understand a conversation, uh, people tell their bedtime stories. Now, this is where you can take a picture from our non-witchy brothers and sisters. And yes, I consider everybody my brother and sister, regardless if they're my religion, race, or whatever, because we are all family. And if we get past the stupid little, well, I'm this, you're that, this world would be a better place because we're all one. You know, it's the illusion that we want to be that separates us. Well, different video. Anyway, so um, the just like Christians will take stories out of their Bible, and this is also a different video. I'm not trying to bash Christians or any other religion, at least in this video. They have stories, bedtime stories that are, well, I mean, stories just in general in their religious books that are outright bloody, crazy. You can go into any bookstore and find a kid's story about the flood. Well, it's got this old man with a beard and these cute little drawn animals loading up a boat, and they kid friendly it down, right? So they hide the fact that this is actually because the god that they're trying to convince their child to worship is so pissed he's going to mass murder everything on the planet except for an old man and a senior citizen and his sons and their wives and a bunch of animals. Okay, they play that down. They don't. So the kid goes, "Oh yeah, I like the story. I like the story that a flood's coming and he saved all these lives." But you know, G-rate your stories of the pagan gods. Turn it into a moral story. Uh, Perfect example is Idun. I might be saying her name wrong because I haven't said it in a while. But anyway, Idun is the Norse goddess of the orchard of, of the apples that gave or the fruit that gave eternal life. Okay, um, you don't have to tell the story how or how Loki steals this and steals that, blah 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 blah. The gods start to age. You can, but again, you're talking to kids, so the peril you have to make it kid friendly so they don't get scared. Just like our Christian brothers and sisters do about their stories where they try to teach the kid. Now, this is not indoctrination. You're not saying you have to worship these gods. You're saying these gods and people who believe in them believe this happened, and here's the moral of the story. Well, Idun shared her apple so everybody could have eternal life in the end. So you G-rate this down, keep out the violence and so forth until they get older, then they can add it. But that child will grow up realizing that when they're, say, at lunch and there are still kids, because we live in a money-driven system, there are still kids that are going hungry here, and when they see their child, their friend, not eating, and they have an apple, well, I'll just share my apple with him or her, just like he did. It's this way they learn a moral story, and they learn the names and the gods of various countries and so forth. Being multicultural as much as possible. Start with what you know, which is probably your culture, you know, but definitely be multicultural, because the goal here is not to be not to raise children that are scared of other people's cultures or other races or other beliefs. We have to I mean, we have to try to be, we are a family, right? We're living on this planet with our animal brothers and sisters, our human brothers and sisters. We're just not living here with them. We're living here and anticipating the arrival of more. We got to leave this world a better place. This is the main ideology of why I even became a witch, was because I was tired of the dogma. And the only found out the only dogma is there is the dogma of love, when to love, when to fight, when to run. Different video. Anyway, so we get this down. We have the kids learning stories, learning ingredients, learning symbolism. So right around the time the child gets old enough to be an independent child, in other words, you have a child who's still not an adult, not even a teenager, but they're old enough to bathe themselves. They're old enough to go to their room and say, I'm going to wear this and I'm going to wear that tomorrow. They're old enough to dress themselves. They're old enough to, if they need to, make a snack, make a meal for themselves. They're still a child, but now at this age, you can start teaching them the concept of rituals and magic. Using all the stuff they've learned as they're growing up, now you could there's three different forms of magic that work really, really, really well with children, because they don't have to wave around a knife. They're not playing with incense and candles or an open flame. Perfect things to teach them at this age is kitchen witchery, which again plays on what you were teaching them as you were cooking together. It was fun. They get a reward after their hard work. They get a meal. Understand that when you mix things, then you can take their meanings. Like, you remember this was about prosperity. Yeah. Well, you're wanting to try to say uh, make more money mowing lawns or babysitting. You can make yourself a little prosperity cupcake. Kitchen witchery. It will reaffirm information, and they'll continuously grow from that subject. The other part is simple jar magic. Magic that don't necessarily have to always have a candle. Now, again, that's great, and you could tell them other ways to do this, or you can burn the candle for them. But teach them jar magic. Teach them how to do sweetening jars. You could teach them the concept of souring jars, but again, they're still young and impulsive. You don't necessarily want to teach them uh, magics that are for vengeful stuff. Prosperity and defense mainly. Okay. because again, kids are very. If I knew what I knew now when I was 9, man, I would be hexing people left and right just because they thought they were bullying me just because they overspoke. Okay, kids do that now. So focus things that benefit and growth because they are growing more so than an adult grows at an alarming rate. So focus on growth. It's rituals that focus on growth. When they become a teenager, they'll start putting two and two together and and you know they will start to understand some stuff without you even having to teach them. So jar magic, kitchen witchery, and then drawing. A lot of kids like to draw. Teach them sigil magic. You could teach them how to do it with the alphabet, or even just uh, thinking about something and then drawing a simple picture for that to mean. Teach them sigil magic. You could teach them that they can charge this by looking at the picture and visualizing. Again, keep everything G-rated because all witches know there are several different ways to charge a sigil. You can do jumping jacks and get your get in an altered state of being exercising, building up energy, looking at the picture. Adults tend to do things a little bit more X-rated, so you don't have to teach these kids this. Obviously, don't you keep everything G-rated. So teach them how to charge a sigil through meditation, or uh, when they're out and around playing hide and go seek, have that little sigil out there and say the window on the outside. When they're running and they got their stamina built up, they can look at that sigil and visualize what they're wanting. So the three main things for children to learn: first, kitchen witchery, sigils, and jars, because they're the simplest and very effective if you want to teach your children magic. Also, teach them realistic expectations that magic, just because you cast a spell, doesn't mean it's going to come true when you want it or how you want it. So you have to be careful. And of course, even before all that, you teach them white light protection, the most simplest form of visualization for protection against negative energies. And if you want to talk about negative energies, but you don't want to scare them, like saying, well, at any given time, you have this demon or evil spirit over here watching you. You don't want to scare them. But so refer to them as germs, spiritual germs, just like there's germs that you can't see that make your physical body sick. There are spiritual elements that when people are overly negative or other things that are negative can leave behind. So refer to these as basically germs. And as they get older, or if they get on the topic of ghosts or spirits, you can tell them that these germs sometimes have a mind of their own, and they were one time something that wasn't human, or something that is human, or maybe it's just pure residue. Because again, you could have negative energy that's not conscious, and it's just there causing random chaos. But anyways, those are the main things. And when they become a teenager, then you can start teaching them more things. Um, I would stay away from cord magic, or not cord magic, but we're using cords in magic like bindings and so forth, because you you run the risk of a kid not with string tightening things around their fingers, or maybe around an animal or a doll or something, and it's just kind of, I think, a little bit spooky, or maybe even dangerous. Not because of the magic, just because you know they will tie strings around things that they shouldn't. Uh, so that would be great for somebody who's like between like 11 or 12 years old. But this is just a quick little reference. Teach your kid by not teaching them. Give them information. That's what they are good at. They're good at absorbing information. Like I said, try learning a language, being fluent in a language right now. It's almost impossible if as an adult. I mean, you could do it, but kids, you don't even have to teach them. They just listen and they learn. That's what they do. Teach them as much information. Keep the magic or the practical knowledge of magic until they're old enough to rationalize their own individuality. But when that time comes, they already have that library of information. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Leave some comments down there. Let me know. Give me some ideas, maybe. Give me some ideas for new videos. Thank you for watching.